call roll, please, Shelley.
Now you have to have a prayer.
Oh, yes. Frankie, would you give her a question, please?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your many blessings, and we just ask for your guidance in this meeting and in the meetings to follow. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Sir. Rex Jordan. Here. Leo Smith.
Here.
Bill England.
Honey.
Austin.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Miss Harley.
Joe Bird.
Honey.
Sean Crittenden.
Here.
Mike Dobbins. Frankie Hargis. Here. Wanda Hatfield. Honey. Dick Lay.
Honey.
Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw. Honey. Denise Taylor. Here. Victoria Vasquez. Honey. David Walkenstick. Brian Warner. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Need approval of the minutes from our December 11th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Reports. Bruce Davis. I'm here. Get on that big coat for you. Been outside?
I have. Have you been outside?
Yes.
Come on now.
Not very much.
I want to tell you, it keeps us busy doing firewood, hot water tanks, building fence, thanking these guys back here for taking care of our elders. Wood stoves, pellet stoves. If we get a call, we're on it.
Yeah.
So,
We appreciate you.
we don't have time to wait on all the paperwork sometimes, but we try to take care of our elders. So,
That's the main thing.
okay. You have my report. I hope everyone had a good holiday. I know we did. And so I'll try to answer any questions you might have. I've been had some questions already. So if it's anything serious, ask me after this meeting.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Davis?
I have a comment. How are we doing on the wood stoves that we're supposed to have if they, I had a veteran call me, felt sorry for him. He's in the mid-60s and he just needed heat.
Right.
He's just completely out of heat. And, I'm gonna talk to Barbara Foreman later. I thought, well, where do we store some of these things that a veteran might need if we had to do it in emergency without going through paperwork?
Well,
I know
Joe-
you gotta have paperwork later, but.
right, Joe, we pay for it out of one of our budgets, okay? We need it today, and then we do the paperwork later, like you said. But some of our departments are real good in helping out, and we have some wood stoves stored, or we did have, if they're not all taken, and some other items like that. So we
Do we
try to
have pellet stoves left?
maybe. I'll have to look.
Okay,
That's
that lady,
not my department now. I'll have to get a key to go look. Okay.
So these wood stoves, do y'all install them too?
If they need help, we may. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Yes,
I
sir.
just have a comment. Thank you. I've had the pleasure of working with you several times on different things, hot water heaters
Right.
and some regular heaters, and
Right.
you guys have been really good to get out immediately. And
Well-
I know the people really appreciate that, and it's cold, so
Yeah.
we appreciate you.
We
a lot.
try. We try. I mean, can you imagine not having wood heat right now, or not having hot water, or maybe not any water? So we try to get on it. We sure do. And these guys back here, they help me. They're really good. Okay? Anything else?
Any other questions?
You have my phone number if you need me.
Yes, sir.
Not you,
And
Bill.
and as we speak, I'm actually, a lady just called me from Tulsa, an elderly lady in her 80s.
Okay.
And she is out of heat, and I'm trying to get a hold of Gary Cooper now to take care of her.
Okay, good luck. So,
Well, if not, I'm coming back here.
all right. Okay.
I didn't figure you came all the way up to Tulsa.
Oh, we will. We will. We take care of Catoosa.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you go a little further
Oh,
then.
we do, yeah. Yeah, my daughter lives at Skytook, so
I know where she lives.
thank you all.
Thank you, Bruce. Ginger? Brown.
Good afternoon. I think you have my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to address any questions.
Any questions for Ginger? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
one question.
Oh,
Hey
Got one
Ginger,
question.
on the, I appreciate you guys helping us out with the impact date and everything, but
Is there a reason a lot of our properties is not put into trust? Like the property there on Water Street, you know, where C&I owns that, or C&B. It seems like the schools are missing out on a lot of money because some of our properties where people are employed at, they're not trust status. Is there a reason they're not getting put in or getting denied, or are we having to wait a long period to get it in trust status to the BIA?
We own a lot of property that is not in trust, and each time we put a piece of property into trust, it all depends on what it is and everything that it entails. But you're looking at anywhere from $12,000 to $18,000 per. That includes the environmentals, title work, and everything. So, you know, we try to do 7 to 8 a year, and
Is it so there's some financial resources we gotta have?
Somewhat as well, and it's a long process to do a Vita Trust app. And I just presented a list to the chief that we discussed, and you know, prioritizing for this year.
Yeah.
So we try to get at least, well, since I've been there, we've been trying to get at least 5 to 8 per year in trust.
If you had more financial resources, could we increase that number, or?
Yeah, it would mean hiring more people as well.
Oh, gotcha. There's
Yes.
a lot of legwork goes in.
There's a lot of labor that goes into food trust applications.
Okay, I gotcha.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Environmental programs.
Step in for his report as well.
Okay.
Mr. Elkins is at the OWRB meeting. The Oklahoma Water Resources Board is meeting today, so he is there taking notes, keeping track of what's going on up there. So if you have any questions for him that I can answer, I'll be happy to do so. The Cherokee Nation Environmental Programs, there's 3 different things I wanted to kind of give the council an update on. One of them was their home energy audit program. There's a new cooperative venture between us and Diane Kelly's group to train some of the building and trades folks to do energy audits. This will give them another skill set that they'll have when they go out into the market looking for jobs. They'll be able to do home energy, get some more training for some of her folks. We're making a new application this year for which is non-point source. A point source is pollution that kind of goes from a site. There's like a pipe or something that goes into the river. That's a point source. A non-point source is all the other types of pollution that run off the watershed and into the water. And so we're requesting dollars for the first time, I think, through 319 to increase our capacity so that we can start to put together some management plans for some of our water bodies to help control that non-point source pollution. So this is sort of a new venture for us, asking for some EPA dollars that we've never requested before. So I know that water quality is something, so much of our water quality issues here are caused by that non-point source pollution, pollution that runs into the water from other places on the ground. The other thing that we're working on that I thought the council should be aware of is that, so underground storage tanks, I know it's not like a thrilling topic probably, but it's a huge problem in the country. When you go fill your gas tank up, that gas often comes from these large underground storage tanks. And those tanks, when they leak, if those leaks are not detected, it can very quickly cause major environmental issues. And that's something that Cherokee Nation Environmental Programs has been a leader in for a long time on Indian country. Not only do they do the inspections on underground storage tanks in the nation here, but they have been training other tribes to do those inspections in Region 6, which is Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and New Mexico. So they have traveled through ITEC, the group that Cherokee Nation operates. They've been doing a lot of training, and they just released a report. Oklahoma's compliance for underground storage tanks was 64%. The national average was 72%. On Indian country in Region 6, it was 88%. So we actually had a better ranking for underground storage tank compliance in Region 6 than the nation as a whole. And a lot of that goes to the folks in environmental programs who have just really been sort of hounding them about this and continuing to do training and outreach and going and doing inspections at other tribes. So I'm really proud of those guys and the work that they do. It's not glamorous work trying to protect underground storage tanks from polluting the water, but it's critical work. I mean, they're real water protectors doing that work every day, and I'm really proud of those numbers that they've put up. It was really great to see E.O. Smith at our Environmental Protection Commission meeting. We were so happy to have you there at our meeting. It was a long meeting, and we covered every possible environmental issue, I think, in that meeting. And it was good to have him there. We really appreciated that. A lot of the other things we're doing are things I think I've touched on before. We've got our VW settlement request dollars in, and so we're waiting anxiously on that. I'll let you know as soon as I hear something. I was going to touch a little bit on the issue at Chilocco. I think that Councilman Lay first brought to my attention. I know I was going to send out an alert. We were originally told by the group that the Department of Homeland Security, that they were no longer going to conduct that testing that they had proposed. I wanted to have the actual letter from them stating that they weren't going to do the testing before I contacted the council. And by the time I got that letter, everybody who knew about it had already been told on Facebook, I think. So I just wanted to highlight that for you, though, that was a good example of tribes getting together and working on an issue and making their concerns known. And then there was some real reaction from Homeland Security, which was good to see. So other than that, I think it's been hunting and fishing licenses. We finished the mail out. Feels like that went on for a week. The mailroom people worked so extraordinarily hard getting those mailed out. They were here late into the night some nights. We really appreciated their hard work on that. But we got all the hunting and fishing licenses out for this time, so they should be in the mailboxes. If people don't receive them, they can call Dale Glory, and we'll find out where it went awry and get that license to them.
Yes, sir.
Talked about the hunting and fishing license. I've had elderly ladies that are, like up in their 80s, and they're telling me they're getting those hunting and fishing licenses. They said they never requested it. So does that cause the tribe to mail those out to those people that are never going to use them? Or?
It does. It costs $2 per license. Part of the compact was agreeing to issue as many licenses as we could, because part of the reason the compact works is because those $2 that the Cherokee Nation pays attracts another $6 of federal dollars. So having that hunting and fishing license is valuable to the state. And those dollars go directly into management, resource management. The state can't use them for any other purposes but for improving habitats and increasing access to hunting and fishing. So part of why the compact works for the state is because of the volume that we put out. So it's true that we are paying $2, and maybe that particular citizen doesn't use it, but the long-term benefit to Oklahoma and to hunting and fishing, I think, is still there. But that's true. We are paying $2 for that license.
Okay. That's one thing I need to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Sarah, I get asked this a lot. Is there any way possible that a Cherokee who comes back in jurisdiction or in the state of Oklahoma, is there any way they can get a temporary license, say maybe for $2, to be here, say for 3 to 5 days or something, to hunt and fish?
Unless they're a citizen of the state, we cannot issue. There's no mechanism in the compact for us to issue them a license unless they're a citizen. So there are no provisions for visiting citizens. So unless they're prepared to move to Oklahoma and become citizens, there's nothing that we can do.
David?
So we're purchasing approximately 150,000 licenses per year.
That was the initial target, was 150. We haven't actually issued 150 in any year at this point.
Okay, but so the compact is to distribute as many as possible, and so that's from the age of 16 to
Whatever.
well, if you get over a certain age, it's free. If you're 67 or something like that. But yeah, that's kind of my thing is I wonder if it could come down to a request where the constituent requests a license, because there's probably 15 to 20% of the people hunt probably in the area, and it's good for the state. They're restocking the wildlife, and we're giving money to do that. But on the flip side of it is, Indian Territory, we should be charging people to hunt on our land. That's the flip side to it. And prior to, when someone did get pulled over for hunting or fishing illegally, they took it to a court. They always dismissed it because there was always a gray area there if Cherokees had the right to hunt in Indian Territory. I know the facts are out there. If they hunt on trust land, they kill deer out there, they got to eat the deer on the trust land. They can't take the deer off of the property, but there's always been a gray area there. Can you kind of expand on that with the treaties and so forth, or?
Sure. I can, so the legal case for tribes, for tribal citizens to be able to hunt and fish in tribal jurisdiction is a strong case. I've always believed that. There are also a lot of nuance about, there are places where it's stronger and there are places where the case is not as strong, and it's a spectrum. So if you're on tribal trust land and you're a tribal citizen, it is on the very strong side of the spectrum. Your legal argument is quite strong. If you're in, let's say, the Oklahoma City area out in the western part, I still have an argument that you should be allowed to do that, but the case is weaker outside of the 14 counties. So it's a spectrum. Part of the reason why the compact exists is an attempt to avoid the conflict and find something that worked for all parties, right? That's what compacts almost always are, is trying to find a way to make a system that works for everybody without doing any harm to anybody else's legal case. So if you're talking about what kind of legal case you could bring, that's one answer. The compact was an attempt to find a workable compromise between the two. Now, in previous cases, there were citizens who were given ticketed for hunting and fishing without a license, and some of those cases the AG's office would take, and some of them were dismissed, just like you said, because the local district attorney said, "Psh, I'm not getting into it with Cherokee Nation over this deal. It's not that important to me." There were other cases where people maybe had previous convictions and they had what we call paper time, where they may have a case where they maybe have a 10-year deferred sentence. Well, now they've committed a criminal act, and and that small criminal act could cause them major problems. That citizen may decide that they're not willing to do that. And so there were good cases, and then there were some not so good cases, depending on the circumstances. So
Basically, this the Murphy,
it's unsatisfactory sometimes in the law to have, there's not always a clear black and white answer for everything until you get to the court.
the Murphy case that's going on. So say that gets passed or approved through the Supreme Court, and that gives us jurisdiction over Indian territory. So what does that look like for us as a tribe to be able to tax other or to charge other people on our land to hunt and fish on our property? How does that all tie in?
Well, the Murphy case, it's important to remember that the Murphy case is it's a criminal case. It deals with a federal, with a criminal act that occurred.
Indian territory, though.
Right, it does, but there's two parts to that. One of them is that it's really the court is only deciding that the criminal jurisdiction matter, that in the Creek Nation, and it's exclusively the Creek Nation because it's a Creek Nation case, that in the Creek Nation, if you commit a crime, that the state may not have jurisdiction over that crime if you're an Indian, or if there's an Indian victim in that crime. And that's really all that case speaks to. Now, there may be any other implications of that under civil or regulatory jurisdiction. Those are questions that I can't answer at all for the Cherokee Nation. And even in the Creek Nation, I don't know that anyone can say right now what the impact of that might be.
Okay, and Chairman, I don't want to get off subject here. I'm talking about hunting and fishing still. And us having jurisdiction in our area to charge people for hunting and fishing licenses. So, anyways, well, that's something I like to expand on, and maybe if you get time, research. And I'm interested to know what the legalities are and what the compacts and treaties say for hunting and fishing for Cherokees in our Cherokee jurisdiction, the 14 county.
Yeah, I'm convinced the case is strong. I've always been convinced the case is strong.
The other thing is, what's the status on the Tennessee Valley Authority and the Clean Line Energy through Sequoia County? What's the status on that?
I haven't talked to anybody. All I know is what I've seen in the papers. But it seems like the Clean Line project, at least for right now, is derailed, is what it looks like to me. But I haven't spoken to anybody at Clean Line at all, so I don't have any other information to add to whatever's out in the media on that.
What is that in the media? What's the so they put a halt to it temporarily? Or?
I saw a media report that they sold it. That Clean Line sold their Oklahoma assets to another company. And then I've heard that there is discussion about that Clean Line, whether or not it's much more in question now whether or not the Clean Line will be built. Maybe that Councilman Warren maybe can answer that question better than I can. But that's what I've heard and what I've read.
Okay, that they may have sold it.
I'm sure that they sold their Oklahoma assets. The Clean Line folks did, so they don't own that section of the Clean Line anymore. Those assets belong to another company.
What company is that? Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head.
So
I could send you what I have on it, though, the news article that I saw on it.
Because I guess the new company's going to be coming to us to probably get another easement through Sequoia County, I assume, whoever they sold it to.
I'm not sure about
Possibly.
that. I don't know that they still plan to build the line in the way that they originally conceived. I just don't know.
Okay, all right, thanks, sir. Thanks, Chair.
Yes, I had several calls during the hunting season about different infractions on different people's land, trespassing to doing different things like that. And I usually transferred them, or didn't transfer, but I would call a sheriff's office or another law enforcement entity, and they would call the marshal service. Has there ever been any thought, and I don't know if there's any money for it, but to have our own wildlife department that looks over our land and monitors it more closely? You know, there's a lot of that land that's around Lake Uchi that people are going in there and just, I mean, they are cutting wood left and right, and they're decimating whole ridges down to the lake. I don't know, you know, if anybody knows about that kind of things that are going on, or they have permits to do that. But, you know, really other than the marshals, we don't have anybody to regulate that. And there's nobody really there full-time to be there in a timely manner. Has that ever been thought about?
I've never heard anybody talk about a Cherokee Nation game, you know, Fish and Wildlife, and that, you know, having a law enforcement capacity. Typically, those have been divided into two sections. If there's a criminal element to it, if there's a violation of the criminal law, the marshal service gets called. If it's a trespass issue, then the real estate services usually gets the handoff on that. So that's how it's typically been. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's typically been the way that that's been handled. And other than that, I don't think I have not heard of any recent contemplation of creating a new department like that.
Okay, so there's really nobody to get out there right at that moment then?
There are, but it'd be the marshal service or it'd be someone from real estate services. There's no, they're the only two entities that would handle that type of infraction.
Okay.
Councilman, are you referring to our own properties, our trust properties and having
Yes.
the wildlife?
Yes, absolutely.
Idea.
Any other questions?
Sir, hadn't heard of this in a while, but Sheila Bird's position, has she been replaced?
Yes. Elizabeth Toombs is the person who serves that capacity right now. She's been responding on all of the 106 and other historic preservation issues.
And I can't say I understand the whole picture of that department, but I do know there was a whole lot of money from that. Now where does that go? The money that was coming through for that?
I think you're talking about the TCNS dollars, which are dollars that we are receiving when people put up cell phone towers. There have to be checks done against maps to see if it's close to any of our cultural resources. And those dollars, that'd be a good question for finance. I mean, those dollars get budgeted just like all other dollars do. They come into Cherokee Nation. So I know that some of those dollars have been flagged for historic preservation of archives and records. And other than that, I would probably need to get with Lacey to get a full report to you about where those dollars have been going.
If it comes handy, I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
On the hunting permit, on the antler, is there any, on the new plaque deal, is there any, gonna be any changes to that, or is that gonna stay the same?
Well, this is the ones that have gone out now. It's going to be antlered. It's going to be the same way this year that it's been every other year. This is the third year of issuing tags under our compact, and it was a 3-year compact. So
It'll be the same way?
I mean, this will be the last one that will be issued under this existing compact. So it'll be exactly the same it has been in previous years. And they're in the mail and headed out to people's mailboxes if they don't have them already.
But aren't you gonna have a meeting in a few months to negotiate for the next time?
Yes. I mean, there will have to be, I can't answer that question right now, whether or not it'll be exactly the same or whether there might be differences.
Okay.
Who negotiates that with the state?
The chief.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there a possibility, like in the future, when we negotiate our compacts, that we could maybe get hunting and fishing license for at-large citizens outside the state of Oklahoma? Or is that just?
I think that I hesitate to ever say anything is either possible or impossible. I think it would be complicated. I know that Oklahoma gets a lot of revenue from those out-of-state licenses, and so that's not going to be something that they're going to jealously guard that. So I don't think it'd be something that would be an easy ask.
I know there's not a large, I don't know what the number is, but I think it was significant. I mean, I've had, inquiries, so.
Right. And I know that there have been a lot of inquiries. We get them as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No old business, no new business. Any announcements? Need a second. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.